So let's kick this off with a question, and I bet this one's going to hit home for a lot of you. Have you ever had a boss who was supremely confident, but just completely and utterly wrong? It's a frustratingly common thing, isn't it? So what's going on there? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into the psychology behind this exact type of flawed leader. And it's not just a difficult personality. No, we're talking about a collision, a really powerful one, between two psychological forces, the Dunning-Kruger effect and what's called the Messiah complex. And yeah, when these two forces slam into each other inside a single leader, it creates this perfect storm of just blinding overconfidence and this belief that they are totally indispensable. We're going to call this figure the overconfident savior. And, just understanding this is the first real step to dealing with the kind of damage they can cause. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to break down these two pretty dangerous biases. We've got to understand what each one is by itself before we can really get why they're so destructive when they team up. First up, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Now, this one is fascinating. It's not just about being bad at something. Here's the kicker. The very lack of skill is what stops a person from even seeing that they're incompetent. It's like a double whammy, right? They're making mistakes, and they're completely blind to the fact that they're making them. And this brilliantly illustrates the whole journey. A lot of us start out with just a little bit of knowledge, and whoosh, we shoot right up to what the researchers hilariously call Mount Stupid. Confidence is through the roof. It's only when you actually learn more that you tumble down into the valley of despair, and it hits you just how much you don't know. From there, you can actually start building real skill and, realistic confidence. But the problem leader we're talking about? Oh, they don't just visit Mount Stupid. They pitch a tent and live there. Okay, so the second piece of this puzzle, the Messiah complex. And in a business setting, this is that deep-seated belief that they, and only they, are the one person who can solve the company's biggest problems. It's this profound sense of destiny. They genuinely believe they're the chosen one for the organization. And you can spot this, for sure. It shows up in some really clear ways. They've got this massively inflated sense of their own importance. They centralize every single decision, which of course creates huge bottlenecks, and forget about delegating any real authority. Why would they? In their head, nobody else is up to the task. And they're constantly framing every little challenge as some kind of existential crisis that only they can solve. So, now what happens when these two biases smash together? What happens when the person who can't see their own incompetence also believes they're destined to be the savior of the company? Well, that's where things get really dangerous. Right, so here's the crucial thing. These two biases, they don't just exist side by side. They actually feed each other. Dunning-Kruger gives them that unearned rock-solid confidence in their own skills, and the Messiah complex gives them the reason to use that confidence without ever questioning it. They both lead to this inflated ego, this habit of just dismissing experts, and a total inability to take feedback. It's this powerful, self-reinforcing loop of just really bad judgment. Let's make this real. The source material gives us a great example. There was this startup, Technova. The CEO, no background in cybersecurity whatsoever. But he just brushed off all the warnings from his own IT staff. Why? Because he was camped out on Mount Stupid, thinking he knew better. And the result? A massive data breach that exploited the exact problems his experts told him about. And for the Messiah complex, just look at the story of WeWork's founder. The vision was never just about renting out desks, right? No, it was this huge, grandiose mission to elevate the world's consciousness. And that savior mentality, that belief in his own unique genius, it let everyone ignore some really fundamental business problems, right up until the whole thing came crashing down around a failed IPO. And this isn't just about a few bad apples. The impact is real, and we've got the numbers to prove it. Research shows that a staggering 67% of executives underestimate risks in areas where they aren't experts. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect in action, creating these huge strategic blind spots. And that overconfidence, it has a very real price tag. Yeah, leaders with these traits, they are more than 3 times as likely to just keep dumping resources into their own pet projects, Even when all the data is screaming at them to stop, their belief in themselves just completely overrides any objective facts. But it's not just about wasting money. It's about the people. Get this. These savior-type leaders dismiss advice from their own subject matter experts 41% of the time. Just think about that for a second. More than a third of the time, the expert in the room is ignored. What does that do? It creates a culture where expertise means nothing, where the smartest voices in the room just get silenced. And the result of that, a massive human cost. And you can see that human toll right here. It is absolutely devastating. It's not just about making a few bad calls. The data is crystal clear. When you've got leaders with these combined biases, employee burnout and the number of people quitting just go through the roof. And guess who heads for the door first? Yep, your best people. The high performers who want their work and their expertise to actually matter. Okay, so that's the problem, and it's a huge one. But it's not hopeless. There are solutions. And the key isn't trying to give the leader a personality transplant. No, it's about building systems around them, organizational systems that push back against ego and basically force a little humility. So for example, let's look at how a company manages risk. A biased leader hears a warning and just dismisses it as, negativity. But a systems-based approach, it demands a full, comprehensive analysis. It systematically flags everything that could go wrong. You're building a rational process that can literally override one person's overconfident gut feeling. Another really powerful tool is a well-structured 360-degree feedback process. When it's done right, I'm talking anonymous, run by a neutral third party, it can be the very first time a leader is actually forced to see their own blind spots. It's like popping that bubble of self-perception with cold, hard data from the people who experience their leadership every single day. But really, the best, most long-lasting solution is all about culture. It's about creating a place where leaders are not just allowed, but actually encouraged to say the three most powerful words, "I don't know." A culture that celebrates expertise no matter where it comes from in the hierarchy. A place that rewards people for constructive criticism and makes sure that credit and recognition flow down to the whole team, not just up to the person at the top. And that brings us to the final, really critical point here. It's about the role that every single one of us plays in the system. It's about making a deliberate choice to shift from a culture that rewards the know-it-all to one that rewards the learn-it-all. So this leaves us with a really important question. One that huge companies like Microsoft have had to wrestle with. Under their new leadership, they made a massive, intentional pivot away from a know-it-all culture that prized certainty to a learn-it-all culture that prizes curiosity and humility. So I'll leave you with this. Which culture are you and your organization actively building right now? Because the answer to that question might just be the single best defense against the overconfident savior.